Hey guys, welcome here. My name is Sarah Therese and you're joining me on my first YouTube video. This video is so wild to me because it's not what I thought would be my first YouTube video. I really thought that this would be in preparation of that. I thought maybe I can do all my decluttering and cleaning and organizing and post food shopping prep, freezer, fridge clean, all that stuff before going live. And then I realized that this is the kind of content I want to share. It's mundane, it's normal, but it's real and raw. And I think that's what's so cool about a channel like this that I'm pursuing, is that I get to share this kind of stuff with you guys, and maybe you can relate to me on some things and even share some of your own real life mundane experiences in the comments below. We do all this while wearing a baby on our back, so it's pretty amazing what we mamas can do, especially when we have things that need to get done. So I just got a Costco card back in March. It took me literally 5 kids before I decided to get a Costco card. And I should have gotten one sooner. I just didn't realize how promising the promised land was. But I got some pork and beef from Costco because they were both on sale. I like having beef and pork as a combination for burgers or meatballs and even tacos, maybe some crock pot meals. So I am dividing the pork and the beef, and I'll be putting most of them together in the freezer, except I did have some extra beef that I will just put into some Ziploc bags on their own. Yes, I use Ziploc bags. I reuse them. Growing up, my parents used to always get us to wash the Ziploc bags so they could reuse them, and I thought, why would you do that? That is so weird to me. And now I am that person because you can get so much use out of a single Ziploc bag. I wash them and I will only reuse the meat Ziploc bags for meat again. And I have separate bags for my bread and vegetables, but Ziploc bags that I use meat in will only be used for meat. And then I roll all the air out and seal them, and then I'll put them into my freezer. These I don't vacuum seal, I just do it by hand. They're eaten within about 3 weeks, so it's not long term that I'm storing them, and this has been fine for us for years. This is some local chicken that I am removing the tendon from. You can just use a fork for that and it comes out quite nicely. I also cut off the cutlet on the bottom to put in a separate freezer bag. I like having those maybe just barbecued or thrown into a stew. And then I will divvy up about 3 to 4 chicken breasts per Ziploc bag because that will feed our family for a meal and maybe give us a little bit of a leftover. Sometimes I will marinate these in their Ziploc bags and then freeze them, but this time around I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna put it all in plain and we can enjoy them however I want to put them together that day. I am also really weird about bacteria and germs, and I think that is a good thing, but whenever I am dealing with raw chicken and preparing it as such, I will put through a sanitizing load in the dishwasher as soon as it's done. It's not gonna be a full load. It will just be a bunch of the chicken kind of knives and tools that I used, as well as a bunch of the stuff that was already hanging out in the sink. I want that to all be clean. And speaking of the sink, I do go through with a baking soda and vinegar and hot water to really clean it up. I think anyone can do whatever they want to on social media, but these Instagram fridges might be driving me crazy because mine doesn't only not look like that, but she doesn't want to look like that. We have a variety of different foods. Everything is its own, and it's dirty as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe down. It's mostly just kind of these condiment areas. I took Edmund off my body at this point, and I put on an apron and I started scrubbing away at these shelves. I wash these monthly, and I'm still amazed at how gross they can get, even if we're wiping down our condiment bottles before we put them into the fridge. But this doesn't take too long, and it's quite simple. So I'm going to wash these and start putting everything back into the fridge itself. This is tedious to me, but for some reason I do really enjoy it. I'm also just going through some of these condiments. There are some ingredients that I have been trying to avoid, such as aspartame, and I have been seeing it in a lot of our stuff, which is giving it, firstly, a chemical flavor, and secondly, I think one of my kids is actually sensitive to aspartame. So I'm removing a bunch of those, and I'm gonna actually try to make some of my own of the certain things that I was getting rid of, such as pickled ginger. I make my own pickles. I might as well make my own pickled ginger and not have aspartame in it. Put all my condiments back. Feels good to have that clean. And then I also wanted to wash some of my produce, especially strawberries and even these apples. I do a warm water vinegar mix, and then I pour in some baking soda, and I let these sit for about 20 minutes to half an hour, sometimes longer. And while that's happening, I'm just gonna organize and put the rest of my fridge together. I just want to remind you guys that just because an area of your house is maybe not pretty doesn't mean it's not working for you. When it comes to things like Instagram fridges or people's pantries and stuff, just because they look pretty doesn't mean it's going to actually benefit the family. Sometimes it can be hard for kids to upkeep that. Sometimes it can be hard for you to access certain things. So make sure that however you organize your stuff, it's organized in a way that works for you. This is my fridge. It's not beautiful. It's not perfect, but it works really well for me, and I can see everything and use everything up. It's purposeful and intentional, and I like it. Now onto restocking some stuff in my kind of pantry cupboard. I've labeled it my healthy baking cupboard because that's what it was years and years and years ago. And now it's just my baking cupboard because, healthy or not, girl loves this cupboard. It's very convenient to have these ingredients here right above kind of my bread making station. So I'm using my labeler, and whatever is in this video, I can try to link down below. This labeler is great. Most of my jars and such are either from the thrift store or IKEA, so look there first. And what I'm doing is just restocking a bunch of my dry goods like almonds, raisins, chocolate chips. I am also taking in a tally of things that I need to make, such as granola and some salted nuts, some sweet maple nuts. I like putting those on our salads. And then just baking sodas and baking powders I am putting into my little containers as well. They're easier to use like that, and my kids are able to grab what they need and they go, oh, this is baking soda, this is baking powder. The labels are very helpful. Everything is organized just how I like it, and it's been organized like this for years, and that's how I know it works really well for me. When I am cleaning out the fridge and freezer and organizing said stuff, I like to make a soup, and I'll tell you more about that later. But with soup, I always do some sort of a bread. It could be a focaccia, it could be a French bread, but today I just thought I would do some simple sourdough buns. I'll share with you guys the recipe to this in some future videos because I'm still kind of ironing out the wrinkles in this recipe, but she's pretty good so far, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. I'm also treating my cast iron pans here. I have thrifted one of these, and one of them I bought brand new. It's been really hard for me to find a beautiful cast iron from the thrift store, but I finally did. I can't believe it, and I've been working on keeping them well oiled and dry for all my cooking purposes for the most part. I also have a lot of kind of soft fruits and vegetables here that I will be putting aside to make into baby food for Edmund maybe in a couple days. I have this sandwich loaf that I want to slice into and store as well. Since she has cooled, I topped it with everything bagel seasoning because one of my kids is super savory and loves that kind of a flavor in pretty much anything. So I try to tailor certain things to certain kids, and I think they like that. It makes them feel a little bit special. Will always be doing something to this corner of my kitchen. It's right beside my sink. It's right under these floating kind of corner wooden shelves, and I am constantly changing this part up. Not because it never works for me, but because I really like change in this little corner. I think it's fun. Seasonally, I'll put different things here, but I do like having fruit and vegetables that I need to use or am just using in general in that area. Also cleaning up some watercolor stuff that my kids have been doing, and deciding to store my bread in the pantry for now instead of underneath those floating corner shelves. And of course, I just have to label it because when people come over, especially people who watch my kids, I like to have certain areas heavily labeled because I just feel like it makes their job a little bit easier, especially when it comes to food preparation for them. I'm taking a breather because it's such a beautiful day, having some coffee, and I'm going to start organizing and decluttering. I like these corner cabinets. I know a lot of people don't, but I find them to be really great because there's some things that I use often that I will keep closer by, and some things that I don't that I can really tuck back in there. But the problem with them, and I understand, is that some things can get a little bit hidden or jumbled up. So I'm organizing that, as well as making sure that things like muffin trays and cookie trays and sheets are closest to the oven, and then organizing our large utensil drawer. Kieran has barbecue utensils, which will probably be the death of me because the size of these is just so brutal, but I found a way for them to fit in one side of the utensil drawer. Praise the Lord. And it's actually been working pretty well. Something I've enjoyed about moving on from the baby stage is getting rid of baby items, which may sound a little strange, but to be honest, there's certain baby items I am not attached to. That could be my Haka, some newborn bottles in general. I decluttered about 30 items through my kitchen, and a bunch of stuff I was able to move to my kids' mud kitchen outside for them to use. My buns are done, and I'm gonna get started with the soup. So the reason I will make a soup on the days that I'm cleaning out my fridge and freezer is just to use up what I have in the fridge or freezer that needs to be used up. I had this nice chunk of ham that needed to get cooked and eaten. I have a bunch of potatoes that I would like to get through. I had some beautiful bone broth that I previously made that I was like, this thing has to make home in this soup here, and a bunch of vegetables as well. I'm adding in some coconut milk to cream it up a little bit. If your kids are like mine, they probably hate having the same meal twice in a row. So what I like to do is make a really huge soup. The first day, simplify it, and then the next day I can add in some things like maybe extra vegetables or meat, but specifically like a cashew cream to cream it up. So that is my video for you guys today. If you want to join my Patreon circle, you will be able to see content on here before anybody else. I already have another YouTube video that is live over there for my Patreons. It is 4 sourdough recipes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.